Hi classmates, I hope you learned something new and have a working knowledge about conceptual design in database management system. In our part, we are going to talk about existence dependency and weak entity, multi-valued attributes, and the last one is repeating group. And this report is made by Mark Robles, Nerison Pitogo, and yours truly, Jeremy Rotoni. Now, let's proceed to our first topic, which is existence dependency and weak entity. First, let's talk about what is existence dependency. Existence dependency is when an entity cannot exist without the existence of another entity, and it's only meaningful when associated with other entity. To have a clearer idea of what is existence dependency, let's look at this example. Here we have a father and his children. The father decided to apply an insurance in an insurance company. As you can see, we have two different entities. The father that serves as the client and the client has dependents, which is his children. The father or the client has sets of attributes which are C number or client number, C name or client name, and C birthday, which is client birthday. While on the other hand, the attributes are C number, which is the primary key or the foreign key, D number or dependence number, and lastly, D name or dependence name. So this dependent entity will never be exist without the client who applied for an insurance. That dependent entity will only make sense or value if it has a relation to the client entity. It does make sense, doesn't it? This dependent entity, we call it a weak entity because its existence depends on the identifying entity. In this example, the identifying entity is the client. Also, this weak entity does not have sufficient attributes to form a primary key or a foreign key. Here, the key is C number or the client number. I hope you understand now the concept of existence dependency and weak entity. Again, the identifying entity here is the client, which it can stand without the other entities. On the other hand, obviously, this dependent entity is the weak entity because it only depends and exists to the identifying entity, which is the father or the client. Now let's move on to the next topic, which is the multi-valued attributes. From the name itself, multi-valued attribute is an attribute that can have many values. In the diagram, multi-valued attribute is depicted by a dual oval. Let's look at the example. Here, we have the entity called user. The entity type user has the attribute email as its primary key. Other attributes include first name, last name, password, and hobby. Hobby is a special kind of attribute because it is a multi-valued attribute. This means that an instance of a user can have more than one value for the attribute that is hobby. In other words, we can simply say that user may have more than one hobby. Multi-valued attributes are usually modeled differently in a relational database model. When an attribute is identified to be multi-valued, it is usually modeled like this. The multi-valued attribute hobby is removed as an attribute of the original entity, which is the user, and is made into a separate entity type, and a relationship has is established. The attribute hobby became a separate entity type which acquired its own attributes, namely hobby number and hobby name. The existing relationship has is a binary many-to-many type. Furthermore, the diagram suggests that the user has at least one hobby, and it's possible for a particular hobby not to be possessed by anyone. Finally, we arrive now to the last topic, which is the repeating group. A repeating group is a set of two or more multi-valued attributes that are logically related. Let us take a family's record as our example. We can represent a family's record by using only one entity type, and having 7 attributes, which 2 of them have multi-valued attributes, namely child's name and child's age. These two multi-valued attributes are related, so they are considered repeating group. To remove the repeating group, we create a new entity type and associate those attributes. Let us name the new entity type as children. The entity type children is the weak entity. Thus, an identifying relationship exists between children and family. The primary key family number is used as part of the primary key of the children entity. As you can see on this slide, we represent all the topics that we have discussed. Now, let's have a recap. We talked about existence dependency, which cannot exist without the existence of another entity. Weak entity, an entity type that has an existence dependency. Multi-valued attribute, an attribute that can have many values. Repeating group, a set of two or more multi-valued attributes that are logically related. I hope you learned something new today. In further readings, please refer to our module. Thank you for listening and have a great day.